Hey, welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host, Coach Zach. I am here in studio with the lovely Brandy Mead. Whoa, messed that up. With the lovely Brandy Mead. And it's just the two of us, which means we're talking about nutrition today.
Right.
So it is fairly early in 2024. We're still in January. And that means that lots of people have started and already failed at their diet, their New Year's resolution, their fitness program, all of the things. And so we've talked about our nutrition coaching program before. We kind of wanted to recap that. We wanted to share some, case studies and really differentiate what it means to have a nutrition coaching program versus just a diet. Mm-hmm. And we have tried all kinds of things in the nutrition department. The training, guys, is so scientific. We've got that down to a science. It's just like you show up, we tell you exactly what to do. We have the program designed. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. Obviously, on some of these episodes, like we get a little bit in the weeds as to why we program things the way that we do, but we never go so in depth that, you wouldn't understand it. We do that by design, just because there's so many intricacies to it that you probably don't care, but like we've got that down, right? And I love telling people in consultations, like, hey, you show up 3-4 days a week, work out, like we know that's going to work. The wild card, the variable here is always the things that happen outside the gym, which is primarily your nutrition, secondarily your sleep, and then third would be like your stress, lifestyle type of things. But the nutrition is massive.
It's
right?
critical. Yeah.
And I think everybody at this point probably knows that you can't outwork a bad diet.
Right.
So even as good as our programming is and the workout piece, and you come in and you follow that, even as good and as scientific as that is, you can't get the result without still fixing some things nutritionally.
Right. I think, people that are new to working out will come to the gym and they'll have some pretty quick wins and they'll see some good results at first. And then they'll get to a point where they may plateau. And that's really where the nutrition is going to kick in, and you'll see just compounding effects if you have the nutrition in place alongside of the training.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody that hasn't been working out regularly, when they come in, if they don't change anything dietarily and they just start working out, even if their diet's not good, it's like they're still going to see some initial results just from the workout, some initial adaptations. But like you said, then that's going to stop, right? So when Brandy and I were discussing, hey, what should we talk about this week? A client came to mind. I didn't ask him, so I'm not going to share his name. But he started off just the training, like most people do. They usually start off with the training. And he went, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months. Yeah, maybe 2 months, and lost about 10 pounds.
Right.
No nutrition, just the workout piece. Then it's been, he started doing nutrition coaching with you, Brandy, following our protocol, right? And he's lost over 40 pounds now since starting the nutrition coaching.
Right.
And it's just it just goes to show that there's a major difference between a program with a coach, the accountability, the strategy that comes with that, versus just following a diet. Right? Like somebody comes in and they start and they're like, hey, can you just tell me my macros? Right? Like, yeah, I can. What good is that going to do you? Right? And a simple question to ask is like, okay, like our clients love alcohol. They love drinking, right? So a simple question to ask them is like, okay, hey, you know that alcohol is not good for you, right? You know that that's probably going to cause you not to be able to lose weight, may cause you to gain weight. Yeah, I know. Okay, well then why did you drink it? Right?
Right.
Like if you know that, why did you drink it? Same exact thing with knowing your macros.
Right.
Right? It's like, yeah, you can know the macros the same way you know that the alcohol is not going to give you the result that you want, but you still drink it.
Right.
So just in of saying like, hey, eat this many grams of protein and this, there's something to that. It's beneficial. But if you're somebody that struggles with your diet, just having that is not going to solve a problem for you.
Right. And one of the very first things I tell people when we start nutrition coaching, and I just make clear from the beginning, is this is not a diet. I'm not writing you a meal plan. You're not following specific macros. It's an approach that will be habit-based and simple. And I want it to be simple because if it's simple, then it's something that you can follow through with. And if it's simple, then it's something that you can sustain for a long period of time. And once those, simple action steps that we work on together become part of your daily routine, then you'll be able to maintain that, once we're done meeting. So it's not like we have to meet forever. We're going to meet until you get it down, and then you're set and you're on your own, and it's something that you can maintain for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and as long as you have that framework, right? That's the thing about habits. Good and bad habits are very they're very environmental, right? And so if you build your fitness and your workout program, your nutrition into your environment, into your day-to-day routine, as that becomes a habit, it becomes very difficult for you to break that habit, right? Whether it's good or bad, right? So our whole goal with the nutrition coaching program is, hey, let's make them good habits, build them into your environment. Unless there's some like major trauma, your environment totally changes, like everything just completely breaks, it becomes very difficult for you to break those good habits in that structure. That's why having a program like we do where it's habit-based is so effective long-term after they're done with their initial 12, 18 weeks, whatever it takes them to get through and turn these things into like their day-to-day norm.
Right.
Right. I'll do a quick recap with our nutrition coaching program because I know we've talked about it, but maybe somebody missed that episode or whatever. So we basically start with one nutritional habit each week in chronological order of somebody's day, right? So first thing somebody needs to do when they wake up in the morning is drink water. So we say, okay, you need to drink, and I'm sure it depends on the person, right? Their build, their body type and size and male, female, all that. But it's like, hey, you need to drink 20 ounces of water. You need to drink 30 ounces of water, whatever. When you wake up within 30 minutes, like I'm sure you're giving them helpful tips. Set the water by your
toothbrush.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you go to bed at night.
Yes. Yeah. And so wake up, drink the water, right? That's your nutrition coaching for the week. It sounds so simple. By design, right? Because it's like, how could you fail at that?
Right.
I know people do. I know it's a 12-week program. We don't have 12 steps because sometimes just drinking the water takes several weeks for them to get before we can even move on to the next thing. But then they come back in the next week. It's like, okay, you need to drink or you need to consume 30 ounces or 30 grams of protein. With breakfast. What do you like to eat? Okay, here's how we can get that in. Eat one of these 3 options. You make it easy for them, right?
Something they like.
Drink the water, eat the protein, and then come back and see me next week, right? And we just stack it. It's just stacked. And you, I'm sure, are figuring out what their macro requirements should be,
right?
But they're not having to track it.
Right.
They're not having to measure. They're not having to calculate. You're translating that into meals for them, which is like, hey, what do you like to eat for breakfast? Okay, here's 3 options. You always eat one of those options. Eat one of those options, right? Or maybe you tell them like, hey, instead of eating just the oatmeal, you need to just eat the oatmeal with 2 scoops of protein powder in it. Now you got your protein and like it's easy, it's done.
Right.
There's no failing there,
and
right?
And I think one of the things that surprises people is I don't tell people not to eat things. What we work on is these are the things that you should be incorporating into your day. So initially, I think that's kind of a surprise for people because most people are used to a regular type of diet protocol where they're eliminating a bunch of things. But in this case, they're adding things that are great things, healthy things to add to their day. And then they're filling up on those healthy things. So then in return, they're not craving those things that may not be as healthy or as good for them.
It's like a bucket, right? There's only so many things that will fit into the bucket. And when you start adding good stuff into there, the bad stuff has to go out, right? You got to make space for it. And so by starting, that's why we start at the beginning of somebody's day, because usually where the breakdown happens in willpower, we'll call it willpower, but like with binge eating, with bad eating habits, like those things usually happen towards the tail end of the day. And it's because of what happened or didn't happen that should have occurred earlier in the day. And so when we start and we work in chronological order, we're filling up the bucket and there's no room for the bad stuff. And so it's not a matter of willpower at that point, right? People get so down on themselves, like, I just can't figure this out. It's like, no, you're fighting biology. You're fighting a chemical response in your body, usually telling your body like, hey, you got to eat something sweet. We got to get these calories in right now. Your blood sugar is low and you're not going to win that battle. It's not a matter of willpower, at least not win it more than a couple times in a row, right? Before you start losing constantly to it. But if you eliminate that chemical response in your body and you get to the end of the day, well, guess what? You're not fighting against anything at this point. Right? It would be more of a challenge for you to add the bad stuff back in because there's no room in the bucket.
Right. And it's been great. I've worked with so many people who the very first time we meet, we kind of walk through, I say, tell me about your day from the moment you wake up until when you go to bed. What are your nutrition habits? And so they walk me through. And a lot of times at the end of the day, after dinner or maybe before dinner or after lunch, there's that, sort of I'm munching on things that, are usually highly processed, high sugar content foods. And it's just out of habit because they aren't feeling satiated. And so they're just having this need to kind of munch on these things. And then by the time we get through the program, so many times people have said to me, I just don't have that desire anymore to, eat those Twizzlers at the end of the day or have those cookies or those things that I was eating before because I don't feel like I need to anymore because I'm full. I don't need it. And then, if there's a time when they do have it, they don't feel great the next day. And then they see the difference of what it feels like to feel good after a day of eating pretty healthy foods compared to a day of not eating very healthy foods or adding in things that are highly processed, high sugared. How they feel the next day is so different. And that has been an enlightening moment for people as well.
Yeah. And it's just the strategy, right? You guys have to understand that your body is really smart. And so you can't fight against it. If you starve yourself throughout the day, intentionally or unintentionally, which a lot of times it's unintentional, at the end of the day, your body's like, hey, we need calories. We need them now. How do we get the most calories in the least amount of time? What's the path of least resistance here? Well, that's all the processed foods. That's the high sugar foods. That's the high fat foods. It's all the things that you're not supposed to eat that your body is craving because it's saying, hey, I'm starving. I need these calories now. Right? Get this blood sugar up. And so again, you're not going to win that battle. Right? You're not going to win that battle. Our nutrition coaching program, we don't really talk about, we don't publicize like our prices usually for programs. Our nutrition coaching program is a 12-week program. It's $2,500. I would say that program is worth $20,000, right? At least. Because like you said, it's a one-time investment. People, and once you do this, you have the habits built and you're not going back, right? And so people spend thousands of dollars over the course of years on diets and HCG shots, and now Ozempic's a thing, and they go to the weight loss clinics and they do all these things and they never change their habits.
Right.
And they go through that process, they spend so much money, and then they just go right back to their old ways, right? So like, if you guys are listening, do yourself a favor, invest in yourself, like solve the problem once and for all. Reach out to me or Brandy and like, let's do a 12-week program with you so you can see incredible results that are not going to go away.
Right.
You're not going to reverse them
right.
after you're done with the program.
It's a one-time investment in your health.
Yeah. And we're so confident in the program that it's like, we tell people, hey, we'll continue working with you for up to a year at no additional cost until you master these habits. Right? Because it's that straightforward. It's like, once you nail these things, and you're going to nail them, because again, one thing a week, not that hard.
Pretty easy.
Right? And you should be good to go forever. So, all right, guys, that's the difference. Stop messing around with the diets, wasting your time, spinning your wheels, right? Just like invest in a coaching program and a smart strategy. Work smarter, not necessarily harder. That's all we got for you. We'll be back next week with more great stuff. Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.